Hello and welcome to Clickbait. I am Matt, and today we're not talking about a camera, we're talking about a photo, a specific photo, and this is what I think is weirdly the most prolifically, most frequently sold, almost certainly my most profitable individual photo that I've ever taken. And it's one I took pretty much by chance and on all the wrong equipment. And what I hope the takeaway from the story is that you don't need to be carrying your best, your most expensive, your biggest, highest quality camera to get the shot. What matters is having a camera, f5.6 and be there, like they used to say in the old press game years ago. As long as you can get something onto film or a memory card, you're 90% of the way there. So answer this question honestly. Are you, like me, the family pest who insists on going on holiday with 4 different camera systems: a compact camera, a micro four thirds, a full frame mirrorless or DSLR, a medium format camera, and possibly a plate camera or some kind of folding vintage camera of some sort that really drives your family absolutely up the wall because you're going to stop to take photos every 10 seconds, and instead of just wandering down some pretty old medieval street and going, ooh, that looks pretty, and then stopping for a coffee, you're there for 20 minutes trying to get the perfect light on a bit of stone or a bit of carving a little way down the street, and everyone else has absolutely lost the will to live on holiday? This doesn't ring any bells? It's just me? Okay, fair enough. Well, so throw back to 2005, and me and my wife booked a last minute deal to Sharm el Sheikh in Egypt for about £300 each, I think it was. It was an absolute bargain. I think it was all inclusive. It was on the beach in a sort of nice, safe resort, and it looked absolutely fantastic. Now, we don't normally do beach holidays because we both get very bored very quickly. However, my wife said, no, we're not going to do that. We're going to have a relaxing holiday, and we're not going to do adventuring, and you're not going to take your big camera. My big camera back then would have been either a Nikon F90X or a Nikon F100 with, you know, suitably chunky D series lenses on it. So yeah, that was a hefty thing to be carrying. So all I packed was one single 35mm compact camera. I think it was an Olympus Mu Zoom, or possibly it might have been a Pentax SPO, because I did find an SPO recently which I think was about the same era. Could have been either of those two. Anyway, it was a small Zoom compact and one roll of 36 pictures. That's all I had. So off we went, and we sat on the beach for a whole morning in the blazing sun on the sand. And before lunchtime, we were both absolutely bored to tears. We would run out of patience for sitting staring at nothing. So off we went to the holiday rep, and we booked just every single trip going. We went snorkeling to look at the fish and the coral on 2 different days. We hiked up Mount Sinai overnight to see the sun rise over the mountains at dawn. And most importantly, and most relevantly to this story, we took a day trip to Petra, the lost city in Jordan, which was something which is a little more expensive than we planned to do. I think that day trip might have cost as much as the holiday. But when are you going to get a chance to go and see Petra? If you've ever seen Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade, the building they go into to find the Holy Grail is one that they call the Treasury. It's not actually anything to do with banking. I think it was a burial chamber behind it. But it's a very, very famous place. It's a World Archaeological Heritage Site. But because of the political nature of that part of the world, you can't always go there. And if you were to go there specifically, it would cost an absolute fortune. So anyway, we booked this trip. It involved us getting up at an ungodly hour on a holiday morning, like 4 a.m. on holiday, which is ridiculous. I think getting a taxi back to the airport again, getting onto a light aircraft, which I think was something like Petroleum Airways or something, and they sort of serviced the oil industry between those countries, flying into Jordan, getting on a tourist bus, and then driving an hour or so into the mountains till we finally reached the lost city of Petra, which is an astonishing place. If ever you get a chance to go to Petra, grab it with both hands. I'm assuming it's a safe time in terms of not getting anything bad happen to you. It's incredible. It's jaw-dropping and like a once-in-a-lifetime experience to go there. And me, the photographer who loves to document every single aspect of everything in as much detail and precision as possible, went there with just a 35mm zoom compact and most of a roll of 36 pictures. So I had to ration my day so carefully. If I'd gone there today with a digital camera, I would have shot gigabytes of photos. My shutter would have worn out and been smouldering hot by the end of the day. But that day, no. I had to just rein myself in and hope that I wasn't missing one shot for what was potentially going to be the next amazing shot just around the corner. And the one I did want to see, though, was this place, the Treasury. But we didn't see this until quite late in the day because they take you on a particular route through the place and leave you explore for a bit and then come back again. But we didn't see this place until I think we were walking back. By then I'd shot most of my one roll of film. And before you say in the comments, why don't you go and buy another roll of film in the gift shop? I couldn't seem to find any. I don't know why. Maybe it's because of just those kind of all-inclusive holidays. People don't really do much photo taking. I did buy a disposable underwater camera from the gift shop so I could take photos of the fishes and things, which turned out as good as you'd expect from a disposable 35mm compact camera that goes underwater. Not great. But I finally got there and I finally managed to grab a couple of pictures of it. As you can see here, as we walked out through this canyon and it emerged in front of us, I took a couple of photos as best I could with incredibly bright sunlight on the building and deep shadow in the canyon. This guy gives you some sense of scale, as does the camel. Incredible. And you walk inside though, and this huge monolithic cathedral-like opening. It's a tiny empty rock room about the size of this office that I'm sat in right now. But I took the few pictures I could, and it is one of the most impressive things you'll ever see. And you bear in mind, this place is a couple of thousand years old and it's survived out here in the desert all this time. It is incredible. It's absolutely astonishing. And because, like most photographers I know, I do photos into stock libraries to make a bit of extra income from pictures that have already been taken, I put these into a stock library. Well, I had to go and get them developed, and then once they've been developed I had to scan them and then do the retouching, get all the dust off the negative, because it used to take a really long time to get photos into a stock library back in, well, 20 years ago. That's a scary amount of time. Anyway, I put it up there and it sat there for a little while, but then this one, which I don't think is even the best picture from the batch by a long way, that sold to a Japanese tourist brochure for about £85. And I thought, well, that's nice. That's paid a little bit towards my holiday and my day trip to Petra. The stock library is doing its job. It's paying for days out and things. Anyway, next month, the Japanese tourist brochure used that picture again. Same again. And I thought, fantastic, double bubble. A couple more of these, I'll have paid for that trip entirely. And it happened again and again and again. In the end, between 2006 and 2015, it sold 50 times, over and over again, mostly to the same Japanese tour operator, but to a few other people as well. And in the end, it made over £4,000, which more than paid for the holiday and the day trip to Petra. But it always struck me, though, that this isn't the best picture of Petra on the stock library. It's not even the best picture I put of Petra into the stock library. But this particular one just keeps selling and selling and selling and selling over and over again. I mean, that said, it's not a bad photo. It's not badly composed. It's in focus. The exposure's pretty decent. And I did a half-decent job of retouching it, so it looks quite nice. And it gives you a really good sense of scale with all the people in the foreground as to how big this thing is. It's carved straight out of this sheer cliff, this huge, huge cliff. If you've got a bit of history of Petra, if you've got time, it's an incredible place. It was the meeting point of several trade routes through the desert, but it was like a huge stone or rock above the ground, like several miles square, but with little canyons and things running through it, which looked from above almost like roads through a city or a town. So people carved all of their buildings into the cliff face, or the houses, the shops, everything else, all lived and worked out of these carved from the rock, the stone of the cliffs. But it was lost for thousands of years and then rediscovered, and it's just an incredible place and just mind-blowing to see the scale of it. But anyway, the point I was veering randomly away from is the fact that I managed to take this picture with a compact camera. It was a good compact camera. I mean, I'll grant it that. Certainly I took some nice pictures with that thing over the years. But it wasn't a full-blown SLR. It wasn't a full-frame DSLR because those didn't exist yet. It was something pocketable. And people get too hung up about the idea that you've got to have the absolute best. You've got to have the finest lens, the best body. You can't get a decent picture unless you're using a £5,000 Leica with a £10,000 lens. And I've managed to pay for my holiday like 5 times over with a £150 compact camera. It really is so much more important to be in the moment with a camera. You've probably heard the phrase, the best camera in the world is the one in your hand. And that's never truer than here. I was there, I had a couple of frames of 35mm film. I think this is probably Fuji. It's so long ago that I can't find the bonus print pack that has got the negatives and the prints in it, and I can't even find the digital copies that I uploaded to the stock library either. So yeah, I'm just glad they're already uploaded all that time ago. And I actually scanned it on this Minolta Dimage 5400, which did and still does do incredible 35mm scans. So fortunately there is one aspect of high quality in this story. But as I say, yeah, it doesn't matter if you've only got your phone or if you've only got a compact camera of some kind, whether it's 35mm, whether it is digital, whether it's micro four thirds or full frame. As long as you've got a camera in your hand and you are there, then you can get the picture. And if you have to work on it afterwards to get something out of it, then so be it. But the fact you're in the moment with a camera is the important thing, and that is the takeaway from this story. It's a short story, but it amuses me. I went on holiday, I didn't plan on taking any photos. I wound up in one of the most incredible places on the planet with all the wrong equipment and hardly any shots to take, and I got away with it somehow still. Anyway, I hope this has been in some way interesting. If it has, please of course hit like and subscribe, and join me again next time talking more about cameras and photos and technique and who knows what else. This is a very new channel still. I haven't figured it out just yet. Thanks for watching. Goodbye.